Are your prospects giving you so many objections at the end of the sales process? And even though you do a great job of going through that process, you end up with a bunch of objections at the end of your sales call. If this is happening for you, then you might be selling towards your prospects' wants and desires rather than their needs and problems. And when you make the shift to selling towards your prospects' needs, you're going to see a lot more success. Luckily for you, in this week's chapter of Sales School, we are going to be covering how to sell to your prospects' needs through the questions that you ask. So if you're ready to stop getting objections and to start collecting credit cards, then go ahead and grab your pen and paper and let's dive right in. Whether you're a business owner, entrepreneur, investor, or a sales rep, you know that sales is the fastest way to financial freedom and abundance. But if you're anything like most sales professionals, then you've probably struggled in your sales performance from time to time. Well, the truth is, it's not your fault. And there is a solution to help you eliminate those hard days, weeks, or even months that you might be experiencing. Now, you've probably noticed a pattern already, but the professionals in any area of life are the ones who always focus on and master the fundamentals. But here's a scary fact. Surveys show that 70% of everyone who sells for a living describes themselves as social sellers and have never gone through any formal sales training. Now, I'm guessing you don't want to be counted in that 70%, especially if you have plans to do extremely well in your sales career. That's why I want to introduce you to Sales School, the Sales Pros Guide to Sales Fundamentals. Sales School is helping sales beginners and sales experts focus on the fundamentals of sales and human decision making so that they can leave their competition in the dust. Now, if that sounds like a school you'd enroll in, grab a pen and paper, take a seat, and let class begin. Welcome back to Sales School. This video is Chapter 8, Find a Need, which is the third step in the 5-step fundamental sales process. Now, in today's training, we are going to cover the following topics. First, we need to understand what are my prospects' needs. Next, why is getting my prospects' needs important? After that, how do I get my prospects' needs? And then, of course, the last thing that we need to cover is what should I do next with this information so that I can apply it and implement it into my sales process as a sales professional. So let's go ahead and dive right in. What are my prospects' needs? Well, that's the problem. You don't actually know. But what's even worse than that, most of the time, your prospect might not know as well. And if they do, they might not know all the details of what they need specifically. That's where you come in. It's your job to help your prospect discover their needs. And that is done through asking questions. Now, when it comes to helping your prospect discover their needs, we first have to ask ourselves the question, why is getting my prospect's needs so important? Unfortunately, most human beings live their lives and base their decisions on their own perceived needs. And if you try to sell your service as a solution to their wants, then you'll always become a commodity in your prospect's eyes. I actually just finished a sales training with one of the advanced groups that I work with and a company where I actually work as their sales trainer. We just finished discussing the difference between wants and needs and how if you continually sell to what your prospect wants, then you don't have as much leverage as a sales professional. So it's your job to ask questions to help them discover what their needs are so that later on you can bridge them in later steps within the fundamental 5-step selling process. Now, once again, if you don't sell to a consumer or prospect's needs, you actually become a commodity. And what that does for you is it actually lowers your chance of closing. And the reason that it lowers your chance of closing is because you're now selling to a want, which is a desire that someone doesn't necessarily need, and they can give you objections because they don't need to buy your product or service. Whereas if you are selling a need, your prospect has urgency to get started and to solve a problem. And that's why it's so important for you as a sales professional, a business owner, entrepreneur, investor, to focus on selling to your prospects' needs rather than their wants. But how do I actually get my prospects' needs? Like I already mentioned, it's through leveraging SSQs and asking them questions. And specifically, these are the types of questions and the types of areas that you'll want to identify and work through with your prospects through your questions. The first one is you want to ask questions to uncover their overarching motive. What is the big overarching goal that they want to accomplish, or the big overarching problem that they want to solve in their life? The second thing is you want to explore where they're currently at in relationship to their motive. So, in relationship to that overarching goal, you want to understand where they're at right now, because oftentimes they either don't have a solution or they already have a solution that's not working for them. In both scenarios, it's going to be different on how you would sell each individual in that scenario. The third type of question or area that you want to evaluate with your prospect is to help them discover problems and pain points in their current situation. So, whether they're doing something to solve a problem or they're not doing anything at all, you want to ask questions to help them discover why they should change what they're doing and change the status quo. The fourth area that you want to evaluate with a prospect is to identify their desired outcomes and results. This is a part of gathering a desire or a want and selling towards a desire rather than a need. But you can also, through your questions, create a need by a lack of having what they want. And the better your questions are, the more leverage that you'll be able to create in your prospect's mind to turn a want into a need. And then lastly, number five is you want to ask questions that bridge the gap between where they are now and where they actually want to go, so that they understand what is actually required to solve a problem or to accomplish a goal that they want in their life. So, how does this actually work in a visual representation? So, as you can see here on the screen, this is a picture of the sales process. And I'm actually going to walk you through some of the essential parts of the sales process to be able to create that gap in your prospect's mind. So, like I mentioned, you want to ask questions that meet your prospect where they're at and begin discovering where in their current state or current situation are they experiencing problems? And then ultimately, where do they want to go? What is their desire, or what we would call their desired state? As you ask these questions, you should be able to discover with clarity the problems that they're experiencing in their current state, the problems that they're experiencing by not having their desired state, and then ultimately what they will need to get to their desired state and ultimately solve the problems that they're experiencing in their current state. So, this is essentially how you create a need in your prospect's mind. Ultimately, there's already a need, and it's just your job to ask the right questions for them to discover those needs, repeat them back to you, and then in next week's chapter or next week's training, I'm going to show you how to begin bridging your solution to these needs so that it makes sense for your prospect to actually buy what you have to offer. So that is everything that we wanted to cover in this week's training and in this week's chapter. But you might be asking yourself the question, what should I do next? Well, first of all, if you're watching this on social media, I want you to comment below this video, Sales School, and I'm once again going to send you completely free access to the entire online training curriculum, which includes these training videos, but also more resources and tools that you can use to your advantage to focus on sales fundamentals and increase your ability to close more deals. Second, if you're watching Sales School within the training curriculum and you already have access to the online training course, then below this video, you're going to find a pop quiz that's designed to help you retain this information. Your next step is to go ahead and take that pop quiz so that you can remember what you've learned and begin applying it into your sales process today. After you take that pop quiz, you can go ahead and move on to the next training video in Sales School.